first item on the agenda is public input. And that would be for something other than talking about the rate increase, because we just had a public hearing about that. So if there's any other subject or topic that the public wishes to bring to our attention, now's the time to do that. Take a couple of minutes and let us know what's on your mind. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to the minutes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of December 8th Finance Committee meeting. Okay. Has anyone made a motion to approve those minutes?
Needs to be a member of the Finance Committee, I believe.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. And a second?
Second.
All right. Is there further discussion or any discussion? All those hearing none, seeing none. All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It is unanimous, approved. Thank you. The next is December 16th, the board meeting. Motion is moved by John Geneto to approve the minutes.
Second.
All right, come on, let's go get it.
George, you have a question? You're silenced, George. You got to turn your sound on.
I was just raising my hand beforehand, that's all.
Okay. No questions? All those in favor?
Alan, I have some corrections.
Sure, Tom.
I'm looking at page 3, the financial report. After item number 1, pension trust is up 360,000. I think that is in that quarter. Is that correct?
Wait a minute.
Mark,
Say it again, where you are.
on page 3, item 7, financial report. First sentence, finance manager, Mark Champagne, noted a couple of milestones. 1, pension trust is up 360,000 due to changes in the market. I think that was for the quarter. Is that correct, Mark?
Your sound went crazy for me.
Yeah, that may have been just for the month. As we get to the financials for December, we're up almost 800,000 for the year. Most of that has been in the September, October, November, December timeframe.
I was going to suggest
we did. I believe if we're talking about November, I'd have to go back and look exactly. I don't have it in front of me right now.
The minutes state that in the next sentence for the year up 625,000.
Okay, so, all right. So that would be. I only disclose it by the month and the year. So that 360 was for the month, whatever month that was.
in that same paragraph, the next sentence for the year, up 600,000 on 4.5 million. Is that 4.5 million is what we started with?
No, in the pensions, it's about 4.5 million. Is that what it says?
I think that includes, I think the 4.5 million includes the 625.
Right. The balance would be 4.5 million with the 625 of earnings. We paid out a couple of pensions, during the summer, and we paid out a few more in December that we're paying out this month. But the pensions that we paid out actually equaled about what the earnings were. So the total balance stayed around that $4.5 million range.
In the next to the last line, it says trust that started 7-8 years ago is just under 900, 00. We need another O in there.
Yes,
It should be 900,000.
Right. And then at the bottom of that page, and this is, I think, a technical correction, the last sentence, Finance Manager Mark Champagne proposed a 3.4% increase. Do you propose, or I'm not sure propose is the right word for what you do, Mark?
No, I didn't propose. I gave options to the board based on certain criteria, such as East Providence joining in with the Pawtucket pipeline or not. I don't propose rates,
Yeah, I'd put a different verb
but
in there.
that came out of my 10-year plan. So the word propose, I don't know, there'd be another word we have to put in there.
well, that applies to the operational budget.
Actually, I think, Alan, the word indicated would probably suffice.
Yeah, indicated or demonstrated or something for the next 10 years.
Projected, projected.
We part of what we're facing is a big project, no matter what we do, to get that second source in. That's going to cost money. And these rate increases of 3% a year is really what's considered, a slow and steady that we will be able to afford to carry those bonds when we're ready to do it, in the 3 to 5 years start time that might be indicated. So
Understand. George, I think you're right. The word probably should be projected.
And we're talking about the operational budget here. We're talking about that budget, not about a rate increase.
Correct.
So there's a difference there. So this is the operational budget, the 3.4%.
That's correct. All right, any other comments or questions, Tom?
No, that is it for those.
Okay, anybody else have them? All right, so we're ready to vote now with those corrections made for the December 16th board meeting. Raise your hands, those that are approving it. I'm counting everybody. Yes, thank you. The next one is the 152021 Finance Committee.
Move to approve with a couple of amendments.
Okay, Tom moves to approve. I need a second.
I'll second it.
Who was that?
Bob,
For the record, I don't see who. Raise your hand who seconded it. There you go. Bob seconded it. Okay, Tom, you got the floor.
To that, in the first motion, sort of the middle of the page, the second line, that the capital budget of 13 million change for fiscal year 2022 be approved, and to that, maybe that end, another word needs to be in there to make it understandable. And toward the end.
How about just saying be approved and the operations and maintenance budget of 9 million plus, just knock out to that.
That's fine too, Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, typo changes, nothing
And then-
substantial.
In the last paragraph, the third line down, which begins, PCWA pays the whole way in which a steady, I think in which case a steady 4%, to make that understandable.
Wait a minute, I'm trying to find out where you are.
Where is that?
The final paragraph on the page, third line down. BCWA pays the whole way in which a steady, I suggest the word case be added there.
Word case?
Event,
Right. That 4% would be assumed that East Providence did not join with us in the Pawtucket connection.
yeah, it's not the substance of what you said, Mark, but rather the
Right.
way it's phrased. It doesn't, the sentence doesn't make sense.
Makes sense to me.
Well, someone tell me where you want to make, what words you want to change so we can get on with things here, folks.
If it's understandable to others, I'll withdraw the comment.
Very good.
Well,
I mean, we're end up going to talk about this when we get to the rate increase anyway. You want to continue this, or are you ready to take a vote?
As long as people find it understandable, that's fine.
Okay, so I need a vote now on the January 5th Finance Committee meeting. All those in favor, raise your hand. I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fine, got it. Thank you. And the last one is the 1-5 special board meeting. Let's get that a motion to approve and we can discuss it.
So moved.
John moves it.
Second.
Bill seconds it. Questions, comments? Hearing none? Okay, let's ready to vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Got everybody. Thank you. For the public that's watching, please understand that these minutes have been given prior to all the members of the board. They've had a chance to review them. Next item on the agenda is the Executive Director's Report.
Oh, good evening again. Just first of all, I'd like to mention that Steve Kutu has now joined us as the next director of the Bristol County Water Authority. So Steve's learning about all the things we're having fun with here. We've got a lot of projects going on and lots to do. So I want to say again, welcome aboard to Steve.
Thank you, Pam. I look forward to working with everybody here. Staff has been great. Everybody's been very welcoming and very helpful. So thank you all.
Welcome, Steve. And again, I say it's nice that you have to be here for a rate hearing for your first meeting.
All right.
It's too late to chicken out.
The honeymoon is over.
It's my second weekend here.
Okay, other thing I want to mention is more good news. We closed on our refinance of our bond and the rate was 0.95%.
Ooh.
Almost $7 million. So we were pretty thrilled to see that number. It's Mark and I's claim to fame for as we go out the door. That's the lowest
My guess is
rate that's
that,
ever been obtained.
Fantastic.
And my guess is that if we had to be under the PUC, we would not have the freedom to act as quickly as we did and in the manner that we did.
That's correct.
Now, as a comparison,
Kudos to Sandy Mack, our bond counsel, for setting that up.
do you recall what the last bond issue that was let, what the rate was?
Yeah, we did a chase bond in September of 19 for the 18 million, and that was at 1.8.
So
When
this,
they,
this
so
is half of that.
this bond is actually a refunding of the TD Bank 2014 bond that had a 20-year amortization and a 7-year balloon payment. So the balloon payment was due in this coming September. But what we did, one of the reasons we pushed it up with Pam and I retiring, we didn't want to leave that on the table as one of the first things to deal with. We wanted it cleaned up, but also we replaced the last year of the bond that was costing us 2.4% with the replacement bond that is under 1%. So the savings were substantial across the board as well. And everybody worked very hard, including our bond advisors, our bond attorney, Sandy Mack, and we were exchanging documents very quickly to get it all done. TD Bank was very receptive and worked very quickly to get that going. So Pam and I were happy we got that through at a great rate, and I think it was the lowest rate Sandy Mack had ever seen.
Yes.
So again, our good standing and our good debt service ratio provided us to get that. Plus the confidence TD Bank has seen in the relationship we've had with them in the last 7 years or so.
So this type of prudent financial management and refinancing of bonds saves the ratepayer a lot of money over the long run.
Yes.
Right, there's a lot of things that go into the consideration of this. I mean, we had 13 more years of amortization on the original bond. And as we discussed before, we took that balance and we're going to pay that off in 5 years. And we actually moved it so the first payment would be in FY22, because that would knock 1 year of additional debt service off the high end by starting it this year. So it'll keep, around year 4 or 5, it'll help level off our debt service as it looks like we're going to need to borrow some significant money to complete the Pawtucket line. So it'll really flatten out our debt over during the next 10 years.
And just so there's no confusion here or misunderstanding, the balloon payment is not paying for balloons for you and Pam when you retire.
Oh, they caught us, Pam.
Okay.
Right. It was originally an $8.3 million bond we took in 2014, and the balance, current balance was around 6.6 million. So, which would be like any loan, you pay a lot of interest on the front end, and then as the years go by, it's more principal. So we'll get this one off the books very quickly and open us up to do some bonding. Looks like it'll probably be with Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, because they can provide money on a use it at only be charged on what you take. It's like a home equity loan. So we wouldn't in the private sector, you borrow whatever you borrow, 10 million, they give you the 10 million, and then they don't give it to you, hand it out as you need it type of thing. So there's a method behind everything we do.
Yes.
And and Pam and I think feel good that we're setting up the authority to be in a good position with any option that they may take in the next 5 or 10 years. So
Very good. Thank you.
And
Mark, any other questions? Go ahead, Pam.
I was going to say, and speaking of the Pawtucket pipeline, I wanted to mention that Alan and I participated in a meeting with the East Providence mayor, and Steve was there as well, and Mike, and the Water Resource Board and the state planning director to discuss the Pawtucket pipeline going from East Providence to Pawtucket. And Alan was very expressive on the fact that this is a necessary project that will benefit both East Providence and Bristol County Water. It's a big project for the state. The state should be a strong advocate for this to happen. And the East Providence mayor also supported the idea of constructing the pipeline. So the city council is having a special workshop on February 22nd which one, it will discuss their own water system and rates, and they'll also be discussing the Pawtucket Pipeline project. So just wanted to let you know, we did have some more positive interactions.
Yes, that was to really intended to make sure that the state planners understood what the tragedy would be if we end up putting in a smaller pipe in through the city of East Providence, and then when they need it, it's not available to them. So how important it is that we be able to have them participate with this, or the state do something to see what can be done. As most of you know, as all of you know, we did send out a letter to all of our representatives and our senators. This went out before. We got positive responses from them. This was an attempt in a very narrow way to make sure that the state planning department knew exactly what the issue was. And in a way, they were a bit surprised, but at the same time, I think they were supportive. Most surprising of all, as Pam said, is the very positive response from the mayor of East Providence, who has invited us to participate in these presentations to be given in the city of East Providence, and the state planner wanted us to come and make a presentation, I think, to a planning council. We'll find out more about that, but we're trying to make sure that the word gets spread. Yes, Tom.
Pam, it was indicated during the public hearing on the rate increase that we, Bristol County, are required to have a backup supply. Does that also apply to East Providence, or is it unique to us?
No, that is part of the Bristol County Water Act.
Yes, just us.
Just us.
Thank you.
Although most systems do have backup supplies, and they recognize the importance of doing so.
Was there any mention by the Water Resources Board or the Office of State Planning with regard to the interconnect program that used to be in effect, where cities and towns could get, or water suppliers could get additional funds if they did interconnections between communities?
Actually, Alan brought it up.
The 50% law for a regional project.
Right.
And then I use an expression which I think most Rhode Islanders understand, which has to do with moving the hand under the chin as to what the state's participation in all this is. There's been no money, and they said there's no money planned. So I said, well, that's, so much for that. But nonetheless, the people who are our customers can't live with that. We need to do what we need to do. And we're pleading for them to recognize the importance of this, put in a bond, add to the issues that are there. I explained that we don't really need the money right now. We need the commitment later on. We're going into design. That's the next phase. But surely, before we start constructing and then have to make a final decision as to what size that pipe's going to be, as I say, it's a tragedy if it's not the larger size pipe that takes care of both of us. As Pam has pointed out a number of times, it's not just the twin pipes across the bay that are in a trench. They have 5 miles of pipe to get out to Budlong Road, which they're also responsible for. And they have never tested any of that pipage in all these years. That's East Providence hasn't been able to test that.
Well, it would certainly seem to me that resurrection of this interconnect fund or program by the state would be something that everybody would be in favor of. And it could be supported by a statewide bond issue. And I think that's something that we probably should talk to our senators and reps about getting movement on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Any other questions about, I'm sorry, someone had a question?
I have a question on the, I think it was the 22nd of February, East Providence is holding a meeting regarding this. Is BCWA going to be in attendance with that?
Yes, we are. We were actually requested to provide a presentation on the pipeline.
Thank you.
Any other questions about Pam's report? for the attachments.
Actually, Alan, let me raise one. Pam, on page, I guess the second page, it's not numbered, of your report, the very last line, financial RFP will be sent out in the next 2 weeks. What is that talking about?
Item
Yes,
12.
we're required to send out RFPs for legal services and financial services. So we did our legal general services and our legal labor services for this month. For next month, we'll have our bond counsel services and our financial advisor services.
Thank you.
Just to be clear, the financial advisor services are the ones we use when we do a bond, in addition to the legal.
That'll be number 12, Tom, on your agenda. So we'll be dealing with that. Any other questions or comments for Pam about any of hers? Comments about the engineering report? From Sue, okay. Again. The next one is from Mike. Any questions about Mike's report? Or Mike, you have any comments to add?
No, not too much to add. The weather is turning on us. We're starting to get more leaks. But fortunately, it's been a relatively quiet winter so far. And we've had about a handful so far. Hopefully it's a quiet weekend with the cold weather that's coming in. But we're moving ahead, taking advantage of this time to get some projects out. We're hoping to have a full set of preliminary drawings for the Hope Street Pump Station, along with the final documents on the elevator, and getting those, looking forward to getting those projects advertised over the coming weeks.
Very good.
Alan, I had 2 questions for Mike.
Yes.
On page 2, Mike, of your report, under projects, the second dealing with the Trail Street treatment plant, the second sentence says, recent developments have surrounded the restoration needs of the site post demolition. Could you explain
Yes.
what that's about?
Yes, so the plant sits on an environmentally friendly site. It's in a wetlands buffer, essentially. So when we take that down, we're going to have to do something with the property, the site. So we're either going to have to lumen seed, restore, or if we're going to develop, we're going to have to try to get out in front of that issue surrounding being so close to the wetlands. So we're trying to frame that, and it can be in relative terms, but given that it's governed, it's under the jurisdiction of DEM, we want to kind of package it up with what the potential future use of the site will be. So then we can at least address it as efficiently as possible through that demolition project. So it's kind of the second phase of the demolition is framing up what the restoration will look like, so we can have the contractor provide the necessary services.
Do we have reason to believe or suspect that the underlying soil is contaminated?
At this time, we do not.
And
Luckily, most of the restoration, should we choose to go that way, will be fill, because most of the structures requiring removal or abatement are below grade.
your last paragraph talks about the transmission redundancy project will begin this spring. What is the transmission redundancy?
So that is our friendly little term for the first phase of the Pawtucket pipeline. So that is.
Thank you. I guessed that. It's a different phrase. So.
Yeah, yes. Just in case through funding mechanisms and how things get packaged, this is a unique project.
Okay. Thanks.
Yes, George.
If I could, I'd just like to go back to the first page of Pam's report where it talks about the addition of phosphate. And I'm just wondering what the impact that has upon our water system, if any. Maybe Pam could answer that.
It's good, actually. It's a corrosion control chemical. What they should have been using in Detroit way back when they had their issues. Actually, the pH of the water is 10.5, which is what Providence treats to. So it's already non-corrosive. But Providence has been been having some issues with lead. So they tested using phosphate over a couple of years, and it does seem to have an effect on their system to reduce any kind of lead corrosion. Fortunately, we don't have much in our system, but it does help protect the cast iron pipes and provides a kind of like a light coating on the inside of the main to prevent interactions with the water and the surface of the metal of the pipes.
So it runs through at an acceptable level of concentration, that type of thing?
And it's usually around 1 part per million. And right now, I think we're up around a half a part. They're gradually increasing it. But I've used it in previous systems and it's had excellent results.
Thank you, Pam.
Ron, you had a question?
Yeah, the first question I had was with regard to the project across the street from my house. Is that buttoned up for the winter now? I see a truck there once in a while, but nothing much going on.
Yes, the next substantial portion of that project is surrounding restoration. So we're going to wait for the growing season. There's also some additional work that we may try to incorporate on the budding site. So that is some of the conversations that are continuing over the winter. So right now we're monitoring the site for erosion, basically, because the contractor, he still owns the site and is responsible for it. So we need to make sure we don't have any significant runoff or soil mobilization off the site.
What was put down there? Because it looks, I haven't gone over to the site, but it looks like I'm looking at a beach across the street. It's very white. It's very light tan color.
So it's a clean, all the soil was tested for a litany of analytes, all having to meet the Rhode Island direct exposure criteria for residential. And it's a common borrow is mostly what you're seeing. So that is to meet the required profile of what will become the environmental cap. The clean loam will be the top portion of that profile. Otherwise, it's a processed gravel that is going to be the sub base for the road that will eventually go around the tank and lead down to the pump station on the site where we raised the building.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
Regarding the demo of the treatment plant and such and how you're going to refill it, is there any relation to the discussion we held earlier regarding the property that's behind the administration building versus using that?
Actually, we're going to be meeting with the town next week on this topic. So as far as we know, the town is looking still to build a fire station on the property that's adjacent to our building. But we're going to be talking about it again.
Okay, that answer your question?
Well, I guess if you demo the treatment plant, you guys do really need, from my observations, a new garage to house your equipment properly and be able to work on it. So where would that go?
Actually, we're looking at probably along the road, as close to the road as we can get and staying as far away from the reservoir as we can. So the area where the treatment plant is now will probably just be graded and be open space, with the possibility of perhaps trading that for some property adjacent that the town owns adjacent to our administration building.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, moving on. Next item is financial report. Mark, you're up.
Now the fun stuff.
Now the fun stuff.
Okay, if everybody's had a chance to go through it, one thing is apparent, when we set up the budget for FY20, that would have been in the fall of 2019. We really had no way to understand the impact COVID could have or whatever on the authority. But as has been true with many other water authorities, we've had a very robust year of water, which kind of goes against the trend of conservation. And the reason for that, of course, is just about everybody's working from home. So the kids are home during the day, the parents are home working from home. A lot more water is being used in the residential, and we're highly residential. So the impact from the numbers you can see in the report, so we've sold a lot more water than we had anticipated. And I mean, the good news is Joe and I keep looking at the numbers to say, Joe, can it be this? Can it be this much? And we validate it when we look at how much money we're collecting. I mean, the money leaves the audit trail of what is true. If you take this month of January, we're going to collect close to $1.7 million in collections this month, which is unheard of for this time of year. So the water, we just got the billing from Providence today, and that's held up to a big January number for us in purchase of water, but also in sales of water. So it's a very strange year with the dry summer, selling a lot of water in the summer, as well as that continuing in the fall with everybody being home. You know, it's something that may go into FY22 now as we get going, but as this pandemic may continue, probably through until at least the summer, that there'll be restrictions. So we've adapted to everything, and we were fortunate enough that we sell water, not widgets, and that of which a lot of companies are having problems with private companies that sell other things but as a utility, we're fortunate that we've had our crews have been working every day, working hard out there, and making sure everybody has enough water across the board, and with some very restricting things, so separating crews and masks, and it's been a challenge. It's not the way Pam and I wanted to go out, but it's
Understand.
It's worked out okay for us. But the numbers are up there. If you notice, December, if you remember, November took a dip, and I explained at the time. I said we had a timing issue around Thanksgiving where some of the reads got to the billing service late that were really part of November. So November really didn't take a dip. It's just that a lot of those billings got put into December. So if you look at the individual months, take those with a grain of salt and look at the year to date on a lot of those issues. It really spells out where we are. We made sure that December, all of December that was scheduled to be read was billed in December. So on January 1st, we had everything billed where it should have been billed. So we're learning a bit too with some of the reads are taking at different schedules than they used to be. So we look at that, when they're read, and at some point if we down the road when we go to monthly, the whole system, might correct me, could be read on the 15th of the month for the whole shebang. So, which creates some other accrual issues that we would need to adapt down the road. But that transition will be interesting. So
Let's wait till we get there.
Yes.
Yeah. But
Okay,
again,
I have a question for Mark.
sure,
go
Mark.
ahead.
From what I see and read a little bit, I don't think we'll ever go back to everybody going to the office again. I think we're going to see something where the work from home thing will sort of take hold, and that's the way we'll be. Is there some sort of projection that you could look at, or something that, although we did max out with the amount of sales of water, some slight reduction, but forecast out some increase of water sales by X percentage?
Yeah, I'm not Nostradamus by any means, and I'm not. It's something everybody's looking at. What is going to hit hard is the commercial market, real estate market in the cities. I mean, they have empty buildings, and a lot of them have found out, hey, we can have people work, be successful, and be productive, and have people work from home without paying these millions and billions of dollars to have a fancy downtown building. So I'm not sure how it's going to be, but I agree. I think there will be a percentage that will continue. There'll be certain jobs that the skill set will be available to people to work from home. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, that's a good thing for us to look at during the year when we go to the next budget on where we stand in the future. So.
Plus, I want to add too that we did better than last year, and we did better overall than the average of the previous 3 years. But December has already dropped off on water that we've purchased, and we're below average for the amount of water we purchased in December. So the trend could be getting back into the normal range as well. I know kids will be going back to school, and so they won't be at home. And we'll have a mix of office space and people working from home. So we'll just see how the trends go. But generally, after we do a significant rate increase, the numbers will go down overall. So I'm not expecting to see the same numbers next year as we saw this year. Generally, they will be reduced.
Yeah, part of our purchase too is we fixed all our leaks, so we'd expect to hopefully see the purchase of water go down. So,
Understand. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to discuss the number 6, the rate increase for FY 2022. You have the notes from the public hearing. I think the simple way to deal with this is for someone to make a motion, and then we can discuss that and then either vote on that or change or go up or down. Does anyone have a starting point at which they believe they think that should be sufficient for us in meeting the challenges that are facing us and the potential for East Providence or not, for their funding or not? At this stage of the game, does someone hazard a motion for what our rate increase should be? George, you got your hand up?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the rate increase for fiscal year 2022 be set at 4%.
I didn't hear your last words.
I'd like to make a motion that the rate increase for the Bristol County Water Authority through fiscal year 2022 be set at 4% on an annual basis.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, let's have discussion.
I would like to see us try to live within the 3%.
I also would like this to live within the 3%. In Mark's, in the last meeting of the Finance Committee, the minutes say that Mark Champagne stated that BCWA had a high rate increase last year. This increase can be lowered to 3.5%. And I would say that, and that's without sharpening pencils. And I would like to see us cut the rate increase from the 5% proposed to 2.5%. And I also actually would propose, and this would have been my motion, is that we postpone the discussion of this rate increase until a separate meeting just to discuss the rate increase, because we have a very full agenda here. We got a lot of items on this, and setting a rate quickly after having a public hearing, I just don't think is a good move on our part. I think we really need to think this through.
Juan, the problem with
Especially in light
waiting,
of everything that was said about the times we're in.
the problem with waiting is that we start our fiscal year and it takes staff time to make the changes and put everything into effect. We just can't make a rate increase and then the next day everything is all squared away. So, you know, we've been talking about this. You're certainly entitled to your opinion. If you want to make an amendment, want to table the rate increase, put it on the floor. Let's see if that works. Otherwise, we got to get through this agenda. So if you feel that strongly, table the motion.
I do feel that strongly.
Then offer a table.
I'm
Let's
not
find
sure.
out if people want to table it. I mean, I'm not against people having feelings. What I'm against is wasting time. So if you feel this way, make a motion to table the topic that we're dealing with. If it gets a second, we'll take an immediate vote. There's no discussion on tabling a motion. We'll find out if other people agree with you. Okay?
I move we table the discussion.
Okay, is there a second? No second. The motion fails. Let's keep going. When people have said that they're interested in going below 4%, does that mean 3.75 is below 4%, or that means that it should be 3%? What's the sense
I'm
there?
going to reiterate what our finance director said at the last finance committee meeting, that it could be lowered to 3.5%. And I think that's the starting point of lowering it to 3.5%. And let's see if we could actually have the staff go back and sharpen the pencils and see what we could do, even if it means extending, postponing a project by 6 or 7 months so that some of the expenses get pushed out into another fiscal year. I think we have to make a good faith effort here to reduce the rates in light of the 10% rate increase last year. I think 3.5% is the starting point.
Yeah, I'd like just to reiterate
Pam,
what
can
I
you
what I
put
had
on the
said.
screen?
Alan, if I can remind you, there's a motion in the second at 4%.
Yes, I know that.
Do we need to vote on that?
We will in just a moment. I just want to,
Discussion.
we're having a discussion about that. We've stopped the tabling. Pam, can you put on the screen share what the increase per month is at different increases?
Okay.
Okay, with the screen share, I can't see everybody. So if you want to say something, you gotta get my attention, please. You'll notice that the increases are shown here. If you look at the top line, 3, 3.5, 3.75, 4, 4.25, 4.5, and so on up to 5. And if you look at the bottom per month, it shows you what this amounts to. So right now there's a motion for 4% increase, which turns out to be $1.89 a month increase for the average bill. I'm waiting for comments or waiting for further discussions.
The other issue here is this assumes that the rate structure will stay the same. And the only thing that changes is the dollar values. And yet we have a rate proposal study there's supposed to be a presentation next. So we don't have the benefit of what that's going to do before we go and talk about how much we should raise rates by.
Yes, we do, because that's a revenue neutral rate study. The rate study is revenue neutral, which means however it's distributed, it's the same amount of money.
Oh, I don't disagree with the same amount of money, but we don't know how it's going to be distributed. Hence, we don't know how it's going to affect the individual customer.
Keep in mind that we have the situation that we're entering into a serious element where we're getting ready to do the construction and the design of phase 2. Construction of 1, the design of phase 2. Things are looking brighter, at least in terms of East Providence, but I wouldn't say the light is shining brightly yet. We've always had great resistance from the city of East Providence. Maybe Steve will make some comment about his feeling of how things are changed there. But I'm feeling positive, but I hate to see us get ourselves in a position where we don't have enough money to move forward with the project, because we can't just delay this. The only thing I can see that we can do if people are interested in it is give the whole reservoir, the Kickamuit and the dams and everything, give it to the town of Warren. Let them deal with it. If the people in Warren don't want to change, let the town deal with it and don't change.
I'm just reiterating what the finance manager told the finance committee.
Okay.
I'd like to clarify that if I could.
It's too late. The minutes have been approved, Mark.
That's not the.
I didn't say that one. That's not exactly how it was presented.
I'm reading it in the minutes.
It's not a rate increase.
No, the
budget increase.
The minutes may not reflect exactly how it went down. Okay. When we did everybody got the 10-year study based on with and without Providence, and the projection was if Providence did not join with us, we would need 4% a year for the 10 years. If they do join, we'd need 3% a year to cover our debt service. And the question is, what should we do this coming year? And I suggested at the time, if we don't know which direction we're going, you put something in the middle, and it kind of satisfies both ends of it. That I didn't.
Thank you for agreeing with me.
Okay.
Well, I agree with Juan.
I present the facts. Okay.
I mean, during that finance meeting, we had a motion there. It started off at 6%.
We didn't propose that. That was proposed by a member of the finance committee.
I just said.
So
that's where that's where the number started from, 6%.
Right. Historically, the committees have over the years started much higher than what we present.
Okay, let's move forward.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to say that, make a point that I'm not really for the 4%. I just seconded it so we could have this discussion.
I understand.
I have a comment.
Sure, Bob.
I'm looking at the chart that's up there, and to me, from what Juan has said, if we go to a 3% increase, without question, we do need an increase. That's normal. But it looks like if we, as it's been said, we sharpen our pencils, we could go and find 140 grand, which would give us, if I'm looking at that correctly, the revenue increase would be 140 grand between 3% and 4%. Can we go back and look at that and see what our percentage would be? Is there any place that there can be $140,000? I'm not saying it's laying around, but is there, come back with some numbers that say we're between 3% and 4%.
Right. I just like to remind the expense and capital budgets have already been approved. This is strictly, the rate increase strictly adjusts the revenue portion for next year. it's not like we have to find 140,000 to cut out of the budget. That was approved at last month's meeting.
Right. It's a
So
gamble.
we just, you know,
But that doesn't.
as we said, a lot of this money is to establish a steady amount that will be able to hit our debt service when we get down the road.
You know, we've been talking about the big project on the high level service that's going to affect 2,900 homes, the majority of which are in Bristol. We started talking about that probably 7 years ago. And at that time, it was around $6 million. I think it's a lot more now. The longer we delay on these major projects, the more they cost us, and the more that we delay giving the people the relief that we intend to give them. So I mean, there's an area that we have worked on, re-engineered. I would hate to cut back on that, because that's a major issue that's going to affect a lot of people and a lot of the homes and make things much more pleasant for them. Do we want to cut back on that? If you want to delay something like dealing with the dams, as Pam said, we already have a substantial chunk, 1.4 million in grants to take care of a $2 million project. If you want to put that off for another year or two, it's not my waterfront property, but I can't argue with the items that the gentleman raised in terms of what it's going to affect his farm. When I saw the presentation, it seemed to me the water was not going to flow. The Kickamuit would be smaller, not larger. So, you know, pick a project if you want to delay it, but we've got to move forward and get our rates set. Okay, why don't we take a vote on the 4% and see how many people are willing to go with that? Right now, Pam, why don't you take this off the screen so I can see everybody, please? Okay, got everybody around. We have a motion for the 4%. Were you voting, George, or you want to say something?
I'm just getting ready to vote. Well,
Okay.
let me say something. I think
Sure.
you know, it's good to hear all the ideas and thoughts and whatnot, but I just have one overall general thought. We're planning to do a major project looking into the future, and we really can't predict how things are going to be in the future. And one of the big items and expense in the future could be interest rates. It's very unlikely that interest rates will be as low as they are now, and they might be a lot higher. So I'm just trying to really state that it might be the best part of wisdom to have a rate that helps us prepare for the future as well as we can. And I see 4% is doing that as well as any other rate, or better than the lower rate.
Understand you.
My only point is, and I think if you look into the past, you see that I was always I'll say a budget hawk, if you will, in that I wanted to spend more money. I wanted to see more projects get done. I wanted to see projects get done at a quicker time frame than we have been doing. But I realized you can't have all the money in the world. But I go back to hearing over and over again, listening to the news every night about how bad things are in this country right now. And it's not good in Rhode Island either. And you hear people come, there was mention of that tonight. And there was a letter actually that came in to Pam, which she distributed, I think maybe today or yesterday, somebody else raising basically that same point. Times are tough. I think it would be a good thing for us to reduce the rate as low as we can reduce it, realizing that in the future we have projects that we're going to have to pay for, none of which do we
Juan,
have
we have to vote.
buildable projects. We don't
Ron.
have bids at this point. And I'm just saying, let's drop it down to the 3.5% that the finance manager had proposed.
We
Okay,
have
so
to vote.
you're advocating vote against this. All
That's all.
those in favor of the 4%, Let's start with you, Juan.
No.
No. Bob,
No,
John,
No,
George?
Yes.
Yes. Bill,
No,
we go here. Chris,
No,
Tom,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that's 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, no, 3 yes. 4% is defeated. Is there another motion?
I'd like to make a motion that the rate increase be no more than 3%.
second.
3%, who seconded it? Okay,
I did.
Chris did. All right, further discussion or you want to vote? George, go ahead.
That
I
motion,
don't think you can say no more than 3%. You have to say 3%.
He said 3%.
let me, yeah, I was going to say the same. It didn't give an exact number. So it just said no more than 3%. So that doesn't present an exact number.
I presume I interpreted that as 3%.
Well, that's not what the person said.
Okay, clarify.
My motion to be a rate increase of 3%.
Take that as a friendly amendment.
Okay. Further discussion?
If I can just say a few words. In looking and listening to Mark's presentation, it was like a kid in a candy store who had all this money that he just found, and how am I going to spend it? I wasn't expecting. My mom gave me a $10 bill, not a $1 bill. And I think that money is on the backs of our ratepayers who had to be home. Kids had to be home. So, and they paid 10% effective March 1st. So I'm not sure if what's going to happen March 1st, 2021 to February 28th of 2022. But I think we owe them something back from the 10% we took from them, so to speak, last year. And that because of this pandemic, they had to cancel vacations. I can just imagine how much money they thought they'd be saving. Then they get their water bill and say, what the heck's going on here? So in fairness of us having this overflow of money, so to speak, that we weren't counting on, I think 3% is a fair rate increase.
You really think I'm a kid in a candy store?
Yes, sir.
No, I took offense. I take offense to that, Bill.
That's okay.
I am the most frugal person here, and a lot will attend to that, of
That's okay. That's a
cutting
compliment.
everything to the bare bones. So I take
Keep
offense
in
to
mind, he
kid in a candy
participated
store.
with bond counsel and pulled off that financing at 0.95%, which
He
is
did.
unheard of.
There's 140,000 right there.
Let's get a vote on this if you want to go with 3%. Okay, start with Juan.
Yes.
Bob,
yes,
you're okay. We go here. George,
No,
Bill,
Yes.
Chris,
Aye.
Tom,
No.
okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I left somebody out before I got to me. Who didn't vote?
Aye.
Who did I? Oh, I'm sorry,
Aye.
John. You voted yes. And I vote no. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, gentlemen, you have taken care of it. It is 3%. 5.
No.
No.
I think we need 6 votes.
Sorry, I couldn't.
You need 6, one from each town.
Yeah, we need 6.
So we don't have anything yet.
No.
Alan,
Let me have a motion for 3.5%.
So moved.
Was
Okay,
George
that
going to
was you,
change?
Bill.
Was George going to change his vote?
no, I
I'm
was
sorry, the
I
sound
wasn't.
is jumping in and out. John, say it again.
Was George process of changing his vote?
No.
No, okay.
Okay, we have a
Okay, right
motion on the floor
now,
for
if
3.5%.
I understand correctly, Bill has put a motion on the floor of 3.5%.
I'll second it,
I
Alan.
need a second. Pardon?
I'm seconding.
I'm sorry, say it again.
I am seconding the
Oh,
motion.
you did it.
Yes.
You're seconding. Okay. So now we have 3.5. We need 6 votes. Let's go again. Juan,
Yes. In the spirit
Bob?
of compromise.
Yes,
Bob,
yes,
John,
Yes,
George,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes,
Chris,
No,
Tom,
Yes.
and I
you're a
vote yes.
Republican.
And I vote yes. 1, 2,
Said that
3,
word.
4, 5, 6, 7 votes yes, and 1 vote no. We have adopted a 3.5% rate increase. Thank you, gentlemen.
And just for your information, the difference between 3 and 3.5 is 24 cents a month.
Okay,
charge him an extra penny and get 25.
thank you all. Let's
Done.
move on. The rate study presentation by New Gen Strategies.
Mike Maker? Mike, are you still with us?
I am. Let me turn my camera on. So you'll see my video shows me muted, but I'm also on the phone, so hopefully you can hear me that way. I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Oh, I think it needs to be enabled for me to share.
Yes. It should do it.
You see anything?
Just
Not
says,
yet.
just says you're sharing your screen, but we don't see it.
Will we be able to get a copy of this?
Yes, I do want to point out that this presentation does reflect a 4% increase each year, so I will have to rerun the numbers with 3.5 and then provide that to Pam. See if I can get it up here.
Well, why don't we just hold off until he can get that back to us
Yes, I
Next.
suppose we could do that.
for next meeting?
We could do that because this has to do with when we go into a monthly setup. So we could put that off, I think, without any difficulty. Is that reasonable, Pam?
You could. Mike could give a summary of what the
Yeah, why not
issues
show
we
us?
addressed and where we ended up. And now we could do the full presentation next month.
Could you
Why
send
not
the
do that, Mike?
presentation out ahead of time?
Sure, I can do that. So the last time I presented, I think it was December 16th meeting, and we provided a few alternatives. Again, all collecting the same amount of revenue with some changes to the rate design. And then given the discussion we had, the productive discussion, I then met again with the staff, and we came up with a slightly different alternative that was not quite as revolutionary as it was evolutionary. So it doesn't have that big of swings to different customers. So all I was going to present here was just the current rate design and then showing you what the slightly alternative rate designs were. Alternative rate design 1 was going all customers to monthly. and then varying by meter size like you currently do, and then taking the senior citizen discount from $5.35 per month to $5 per month, so lowering it by 35 cents, just a clean rounded off number. And then we were looking at 4 tiered metered rates. So we're simply going to take away the tier 4 rate and have the tier 5 rate start where tier 4 was before. That was the discounted rate. I think your customer base has changed when you had initiated that rate. I don't think those customers exist anymore. And so it actually, by doing that, the alternative rate design 1 would actually be more helpful to your lower usage customers and even your median customers than if you had just done a clear 4% across the board. And then lastly, we had an alternative rate design 2. I believe some board members were interested in seeing what if you just had a fixed charge, and then for the metered usage, everybody just paid 1 unit rate. So you didn't have tiers anymore. Everybody just paid across the board 1 rate per unit. And essentially, what I can show you when you get the presentation, that actually raises the bills for most of your residential customers. So it's probably not the effect you want. It raises lower usage customers and median usage customers more than if you'd gone with the current rate design or even alternative rate design 1. We are recommending alternative rate design 1, and you'll see those numbers when you get the presentation.
Very good. So we'll see you then sorry to keep you wait so long and give you such a short time, but we'll see you in a month, and we'll have those numbers in advance, and perhaps we can, if we get that material in advance, then when you make the presentation, we will be primed to look at having looked at the detail and can ask you more reasonable questions at that time.
Absolutely. I appreciate it and look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, board member town council reports. Juan? Yes.
Yeah, I had, just for everybody's knowledge, I had asked to have some space put on the agenda because I realized after a couple of years, I guess, that there was no real place to just speak generally about issues or maybe some specifics. And the other thing that had happened was on December 30th, the 3 Bristol directors met with the Bristol Town Council at their invitation to go over a number of different items. So Bob, Gina, and myself met with the Town Council. We had a really good meeting, I thought. And they gave us about 35 minutes of their time, and it was a pretty packed agenda. I was pretty impressed with that. But to give you an overview, and there's really maybe only one area where I want to stress something that was said to us. Gina had given, we divided up what we were going to speak on, and Gina had talked about finances and talked about switch over from the quarterly billing to the monthly billing. They asked when that was going to start. We told them wasn't certain, but it would be sometime this year, later in the year. And they also asked why we were doing it. And Gina responded that it was sort of putting us on par with all other utilities which bill monthly, as well as reducing individuals out of the pocket expense and trying to minimize rate shock when you receive that quarterly bill. And they were pretty receptive to the whole idea. Initially, I thought they were going to be resistant to it, but they seem to be receptive to going to monthly. I talked about dam removals and got into a little bit of history on the dams and talking about their functionality and the issues of water quality, much of the things that we talked about tonight. And there were some questions I got on that, and they had a question about whether or not we could handle doing 2 projects at the same time. Seriously, they did ask that. If we were doing the dam removal project and we were doing the Pawtucket project, would the Bristol County Water Authority be able to handle that kind of workload? And I did assure them that, yes, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I didn't say it that way though. Bob talked about the Pawtucket project and stressing the need for a redundant water supply. And then when we finished our presentation, and everybody seemed pretty pleased with our presentation, I think we got compliments from every one of the council people. The chairman, Nathan Calero, he stated, and this is an exact statement which I'm going to read to you, and I'm reading it to you out of respect for what he said, and just to make sure that you understand what he said. He said, I continued to be of the mindset that giving up ownership of the water that we currently have, and I heard everything you said, is not something that I believe is correct. I certainly heard everything, and I believe that the dams were substandard, but I truly believe that giving up on water that we own, and we certainly don't have to get into the particulars at this moment, is we can do all these steps. I believe the steps we are taking are good steps, and the redundant water sources are extremely important. I do not want to see us give up on that ownership, and even if we let the dams go at this point, with an opportunity dependent upon what the years bring us, we may need them in the future. We never know what is going to happen. None of us, all of us wanted to go and repeat what we said earlier about the issues with the dams, but we didn't appropriately. But I just want to mention that he felt very strongly about this. And I've heard him say it at many different meetings. Over and over again. There was issues, questions about whether removing the dams are going to have any beneficial impact to Bristol residents. I told them that culturally that it would, physically it probably wouldn't. Culturally, meaning that at the public hearing that was held, there were people who had an interest in kayaking and canoeing up the river. And so I told them this would now be accessible to Bristolians to go up, to go canoeing up the river. Other issues that came up, they wanted to know if we had a contract with the city of Providence that required us to take a certain amount of water on an annual basis. Bob did a great job in explaining that we are going to want to be exercising both connections, Pawtucket and Providence, so that we know they work, that the water's not, the pipes aren't getting sediment in them, and that everything is functioning. And one of the interests that the board members, the council members had was that maybe we can play off one water supply against the other and get the best rate. And we assured them that we would be getting the best rate, but we told them that both entities are regulated by the Public Utilities Commission. They were very, the chair, Nathan Carullo, also emphasized very strongly that they want to be involved with helping us support our projects with East Providence and helping us get the senators and reps on our side. And they want us to provide them with some additional information on what the projects are going to cost, what the timing is, and so forth. And I'll pass all those details on to Pam, and some formal response can go back to the town council. So just that thumbnail sketch of what went on, but it was a good, positive meeting. I don't know if Bob wants to add anything.
My only additional comment after hearing tonight's meeting is that if I'm not certain that it would be a feasible thing, but if the councils of Warren, Barrington, and Bristol were invited to that February 22nd meeting to listen in, it might be beneficial.
It's going to be a public meeting.
Yep, we can do that.
I presume they can. We can give them the way to get to it. We'll check that with the mayor of East Providence.
I believe that would be beneficial to all parties if the political side of our towns went there and showed their support for this effort at that time. And they would see their counterparts on that council also.
And we are inviting all of the reps as well.
Yes. Full court press.
Juan, you presented that beautifully. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments? Number 9, Beta Task Order Addendum, Pawtucket Pipeline Phase 1.
Yes, when we first did the RFP for the Pawtucket Pipeline project, it was 2017. It's amazing that that much time's gone by already. So looking at the changes that have been made on the route for the pipeline project and the amount, now that we know the full extent of the work involved, the depths that we're going to have to go to, literally to place the pipeline 10 feet deep and running under utilities.
Shale.
Yep. And Beta has re-estimated what their oversight costs would be for inspection, on-site services, and design drawings for the phase 1 part of the construction. And so they are requesting an additional $164,540.74. We've taken a look at that and we believe that's definitely reasonable. And they don't know what they're going to get into in the field afterwards. And we said, well, if the project is much more complicated than we've been assuming, we can always come back and take another look at it. But I think this would be a reasonable request at this point in time.
May I entertain a motion to approve 164, 540, 74, or we just round it down? Don't give them that 74 cents.
I make a motion to be approved as presented.
Second.
Okay, Tom did the second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Done. Next item is citations. We had 2 people retire this past month or so. First, there's a resolution by the board for Sharon Botello. I did not have much contact with Sharon, so I don't know her. Maybe some of the board members do, but I'll read this off. Whereas Sharon Botello has served as customer service representative for Bristol County Water Authority, and whereas Sharon has served as an exceptional billing clerk, and whereas Sharon has set a high standard of excellence and performance while interacting professionally and fairly with customers that were tagged for shutoff due to non-payment, and whereas Sharon was a selfless employee who freely and generously shared her institutional knowledge with her colleagues, and whereas Sharon has completed 21 years of honorable service with the Bristol County Water Authority, and whereas Sharon often shared her famous chocolate chip cookies, which will surely be missed. I should have gotten to know her better. We, the Board of Directors of the Bristol County Water Authority, do hereby extend our appreciation and thanks to Sharon Botello for sharing her insight, knowledge, enthusiasm, and her dedicated service to the Bristol County Water Authority. I need a motion to approve the resolution.
Moved.
Second.
A second?
Give you an idea, this is what the plaque looks like.
Oh, good.
The motion for the resolution has been made. I didn't see who did it.
I did.
Sorry.
Okay, Tom did. Who seconded it?
I did.
Okay, good. Juan, all those in favor of the resolution, raise your hand. So I see 1, George, 2, right, Bill, right, John, Juan, Bob, Tom, Chris, done. Thank you.
Pam, as an FYI, they both will be in my office probably Tuesday or Wednesday to sign their pension forms. So if you wanted to give them out or mail them or whatever you want.
Okay.
The other one was a resolution by the Board of Directors of the Water Authority. Whereas Sedalia Harper served 24 years, retiring now, missed grateful cheers. And whereas served Executive Director Marchand and Delise before, plus directors over 30 more. And whereas saw board members come and go, often arguments to and fro. Whereas witnessed all meetings, proceedings, processed their postings for year-end treats, did all the hosting. And whereas produced packets for multi-agenda, transcribed minutes, including addenda. And whereas with pads, pencils, copies at ready, maintained the office ever steady. Now therefore, in unanimity, the Board of Directors hereby extends its grateful appreciation for a job well done and wishes you a peaceful and relaxing retirement. Enacted at the Authority, January of 28th, 2021. Anita, John moved it, Juan seconded it. All those in favor with the hands. It's unanimous, now clap.
And
You're listening, Sid.
you can guess who wrote Sid's. Our poet laureate.
Executive
Hello.
session.
Hi. This is Sid.
Oh,
Hi, Sid.
Hi, how are you? I just wanted to say thank you so much. It is so appreciated. I so enjoyed working with everyone, and everyone was great. Just thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
we're glad to have you. We hope
Thank
you
you,
enjoy
Sid.
your retirement.
I will. I certainly will try. Thank you.
Take care and stay
Thank you,
safe.
Sid.
Sid.
You're going to
Okay,
stick
thank you.
around. You're not going to run away like Pam.
No, not running that far, only to Bristol.
Well, it's nice to hear your voice, Sid.
Yes.
Thanks,
Hope you're
Pam.
having fun.
Yep.
What size shoe do you wear? 12s? Laura's got some big shoes to fill. Okay, let's go to the executive session. We need to, my goodness. I got to read this whole thing. We need a motion to go into executive session. And they're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. One is the potential disposition of public held property pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 42465A5, litigation with the Providence Water Supply Board, docket 4994, 42465A2, litigation North Farm. This is Rhode Island General Law 42465A2, litigation DEM notice of violation 42465A2, Hope Street lead issue 42465A2, investment of public funds, evaluation of general legal services 46465A7, and then we have executive session minutes to be approved from 227, 528, 713, 723, 827, 1015, all 1020, and 1029, 20, all last year. Someone make that motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
So moved by Tom, and it's seconded by Juan. Raise your hands. We need a show of hands to go into executive session. I think everybody is voting yes. It is done, and so we will enter there at 8:19 once Pam clears the room of those who need not be with us.
Okay.
The motion to seal by Tom, by John, and seconded by Tom.
You have everybody.
Okay.
George.
We're on number 12, general legal services. We've had a couple of responses to the RFPs, looking for a motion to determine who we will engage for the coming period, coming year.
I make a
First
motion.
is the general legal services.
Yes. General legal services.
Make a motion, we continue to retain Mr. Keough for our services.
Second.
Second. Further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
You have everyone.
It is
Joe, put your
unanimous.
hand down.
Congratulations, Joe.
You just made it by.
We're delighted to have you.
Thank you. And I just want to say that
And
after
now the
tonight,
next one.
I'm going to try and up my game in writing resolutions. I've seen what Alan's done, and I will try and rhyme from now on. Thank you. I do appreciate it. I love working with you all. You're a great board. So thank you. I appreciate it.
We like working with you too.
Thank you.
Okay, the last item here is the Labor and Employment Law Services. Looking for a motion. We
I
had
move that we retain
several
Joe Whalen.
responses.
I move to retain Joe Whalen.
Second.
Okay, and so you made that motion. Who seconded it?
Tom did.
Yeah.
I'm not hearing anything.
Tom.
Tom did, okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of retaining Joe Whalen and his firm, raise your hand.
Hey, you have everybody. You have everyone, Alan.
Great.
That makes it easier for
Our
Mark
next
to write the
meeting-
checks, just Joe.
Our next meeting is February what? When's our next board meeting?
It is the 25th.
25.
That'll be my last meeting.
Whoa.
February 25th. Okay. We will probably have an earlier, if we go to the, make the presentation with the East Providence City Council and invite all our people, don't we have to schedule that as a meeting because we're all going to be there at the same time?
No, because you're going to be attending. You're not meeting together as a board.
Okay, we'll just be making Pam and I and Stephen will make comments, but nobody else is going to say anything. They're just going to observe.
Yeah, I think, it's probably going to be a Zoom meeting, so you'll probably just be doing what, you'll be zooming into.
Okay, I was just on abundance of caution.
Yeah, no, I know.
Because that way,
Yeah.
if we have to do something, then we're okay to do it.
Yeah, no, because you're not going to be voting. It's not before you.
Okay, fair enough.
Send us a reminder in case there's a change.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, make sure you send out the Zoom invitation to us all so we can join
I
in.
will. I just I haven't set it up yet.
Okay.
But it
Pam,
is
I have a
scheduled.
question for you. Will we have another meeting with the town council and the Kickamuit Association and PAR regarding the dams and DEM next month?
We let's see. I have it written down, the Kickamuit, not the association, but the condo group we are meeting with them on the 9th of February with a Zoom meeting.
All right, that's the regular town council meeting for Warren. Yeah, okay.
And well, this is just going to be with the condo people, but it'll be a public meeting.
Okay.
The idea is we're going to present what's going to happen to the reservoir from the observation of the condo association. In other words, what kind of changes they would see if the dams were to be removed, and how it would look from their point of view, and what water levels they would see, and changes in vegetation and so on.
Okay.
The one large benefit is they would now have water access. They could put in a dock and have a fishing pier, have kayak access to the river. And I think it would tend to be a pretty good benefit for the condo group. Then once we've done that, we're going to try and set up a meeting with the town council, another public meeting, and invite, obviously the association for the dam removal as well. And we'll have more information to present on the same thing, water levels, and what's going to happen with under various situations, as well as restoration and plant growth. The major issue we're having now is the reservoir is really dying. It's the fish are pretty much gone. We're starting to see some blue crabs coming in, but not really much else at this point in time. We need to get that open for that reservoir to be useful to anybody.
Do we have an option?
Can I hate to be a spoil sport, but this is not necessarily.
This is not on the agenda. Okay. You got me. That's why we hired you.
Okay.
There you go, already.
That was the final.
All right.
touch.
Send me a bill, Joe, send a bill to me.
Legal services.
All right, I gotta go, everybody. I'm trying to get to the candy store before they close.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Check your pocket. It only may be $1.
By the 25th of February and perhaps earlier, a motion to close our meeting.
So
By
moved.
who?
Motion to
So
adjourn.
moved, seconded
Bill.
by Bill. Fine. All those in favor, raise your hand and wave.
Alrighty.
Good night.
Adios.
Night.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, see
Thank you all.
everybody.
Let's do this again some
Thank
other
you
time.
all.
Yeah.
Everybody.